Just to the right of Italy, across the Adriatic Sea, lies Croatia. Note the islands scattered down the coast. It's the lower ones from Split to Dubrovnik that we explored. Protea was our first stop in Croatia, a fantastic little medieval town, built in BC sometime. Its fascinating alley-like streets, all built with stone, really got me going, as I love textures. It's built on a small island and connected to the mainland with cute stone bridges like this one. The land gate's the entrance to town, and around the corner is the obligatory town square, surrounded by creamy-coloured historical buildings. Dominant is the old cathedral. On down the really cute streets, through the land gate, onto the riva, or seafront promenade. I guess it's Protea's answer to the Cape's waterfront. It's great. With tourist boats all over the place, coming and going. There's this great picturesque old church right here on the side of the waterfront. And down the end, the stern-looking Camerlengo fortress dominates the skyline. As usual, time for a little refreshment. But be careful what you order. The language is a problem. Kim ordered a lemonade and got pure lemon juice. Watch this. The next morning, we set out for Split to board our boat to the islands. Split's a big city, a hub for the Dalmatian coast. Hemmed in by its harbour lies the crumbling old town, which grew out of the former palace of the Roman Emperor Diocletian. On to the harbour to find our boat, the Novi Dan. It's that one on the right. We proceed to board, with varying degrees of difficulty.
If you need any kind of question, any kind of problem, please advise the crew, please.
The Caterina Line boats start leaving. We pass the harbour entrance and sail south, hugging the coast. It's tough going. Later that afternoon, we approach our overnight stop, Makaska. What a magnificent setting, with the Biokova mountains forming a formidable backdrop. They say there are chamois and mouflons in the hills. Mouflons? There's a wedding on a nearby boat, so we get to see the bride. After a wander through the quaint little town, we have dinner at an outdoor restaurant. I had shark kebabs. Very nice. We head back to the boat and find the wedding still in full swing. So, of course, retired to the bar for a few before we went to bed. The next day, we arrive at the beautiful island of Millet. We tied up at the village of Pomona, population 50. Can you believe they've even got car rental here? Fishing is, of course, one of their main industries. You're a clever man. We walked through part of the beautiful national park to the lakes. And took a boat to a little island called St. Mary's, on which the Benedictine monks built a monastery in 12-something. These Benedictines sure got around way back. Back on the boat, and Fraser's catching lunch for the ship's cat. Great excitement the next morning, because we're leaving for Dubrovnik. Known in the 16th century as Ragusa, it had the third largest merchant fleet in the world and gave us the word argosy, which means simply ship of Raguna. Outside the old town, modern Dubrovnik has nothing of particular note, but does exude a certain Mediterranean charm. Although fresh produce abounds, I battle to get a really good salad anywhere. We take a horribly crammed bus across the city, and arriving at the old town, cross the 14th century stone bridge and enter through the pile gate. Climbing to the top of the 25-meter high wall is a mission, but you get great views of the town and its terracotta patchwork of roofs. The town is completely surrounded by this massive 2-kilometer long wall with its towers and bastions. The Straden, or Main Street, runs right through town. The views and vistas on the seaside of the wall are very beautiful. More about this little pub later. Imagine what this old port must have looked like 800 years ago. The walk around the wall was thirsty work, so we relaxed with a drink on Loser Square and watched the pigeons. Opposite was St. Blaise's Church with a fascinating clock, Roman numerals and digital readout. Around the old port were stalls selling beautifully handcrafted linens. Dubrovnik's historical core blends with the stone houses and seems untouched by the 20th century, apart from a few restaurants here and there. Back to that pub, clinging to the outside of the wall, a truly spectacular spot to sip a cold beer and watch the sun go down. Much later, ambling down the Straden, a busker bids us farewell to Dubrovnik. Life on board. Kim settling the barbel. Cortula, like many of the other islands, was first settled by the Greeks and later, in the 10th century, by the Venetians. It's one of the most popular islands thanks to the charms of its settlement, Cortula town, whose surviving fortifications jut out to sea like an overgrown sandcastle. Cortula's golden age lasted from the 12th to the 15th centuries. The medieval walled city is ribbed with a series of narrow streets like the veins of a leaf, designed to reduce the effect of the wind and sun. It's fascinating. An elegant 19th century flight of stairs sweeps up to the main entrance to the tiny town and leads to St. Mark's Cathedral, which is squeezed into a diminutive space that passes for a main square. The cathedral's facade is decorated with a gorgeous fluted rose window. Its interior is one of the loveliest on the coast. Close by the cathedral, down a tiny lane, is the building reputed to be the birthplace of Marco Polo. We leave Korčula and, with bad weather approaching, put into a little place on the coast called Slano. Nothing there but a church and a rather cute restaurant, whose food was okay, but the wine! We really are spoilt in South Africa. Onward, ever onward. The boat drops anchor, the cat has a kip, and the guys go for a swim. Gavaar town, with its grainy white and brown scatter of buildings, follows the contours of the bay, with green splashes of palms and pines pushing into every nook and cranny. Established as a Greek colony around 350 BC, it's probably the most fashionable of the Adriatic resorts amongst the Croats themselves, after Dubrovnik. Towering over the main square is St. Stephen's Cathedral. Starigrad, also on the island of Gavaar. Popular and laid back, says the guidebook. They all look laid back to me. It's the birthplace of Petar Heterović, a famous Croatian poet, born in 1487. This is his home, complete with toilet in the entrance hall. Enough of the tourist stuff, time to chill.
Some custard. Joe and I drinking our milkshake. Wait, Joe.
Finally, we arrive back in Split Harbour at the end of our trip and have one last dinner together, complete with mandolins and rotgut wine.
se va Brazzanino in calano fiumerica, su se va Brazzanino in calano fiumerica, za kažu momka dva, za kažu momka dva, ima ništa tvoga, ma to je baca moja, ma